Hey, Dave. So if the average 30-year fixed interest rate today is 5.5%, today we're going to talk about how buyers can get an interest rate as low as 3.5% for the first 12 months of home ownership.
Hey everybody, Dave Demangos here today, and I have Chad Baker on. It is August 2022. Chad sold about 450 loans. This guy obviously knows what he's doing, and he's going to kind of explain some of the ARM loan types and what might be good for a buyer in today's market. Chad, welcome.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
You got it.
Hey, so real quick, some of the stuff that you and I have talked about privately and that we want to kind of share with people is just, different ways that people can navigate this higher interest rate market. And, one of the things straight off the bat that people are talking about is using an adjustable rate mortgage. That's something that has a certain amount of benefit. Usually an adjustable rate mortgage is going to have an interest rate that's about 0.375 to a half of a percentage point lower than a 30-year fixed. And that makes a big difference for some people. On a $700,000 loan, a difference in interest rate of 0.375 is going to save somebody about $300 a month, give or take. But one of the things that we're actually doing a great deal of right now is actually interest-only ARMs. Okay, and so this is a loan that is fixed for 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years, but the only payment that is due during that 7 to 10 or 5 year period of time is the interest on the loan. And everybody freaks out, but kind of roll with me here a little bit here. So on that same $700,000 loan, the interest only loan is actually going to save the customer about $1,000 per month compared to a fully amortized loan, and that's huge savings. Those are things that can make a big difference for a family. And the concept there is that there's a lot of energy out there about about home values and where things are going. It's really it's difficult to have that conversation in the macro because we're comparing San Diego to, say, Reno, Nevada. Those are just two much different marketplaces. And it also, when we're in our San Diego market, we have to look at what is the home price we're talking about. There's a great deal of evidence that home prices, 4 or 5 million plus, they're experiencing a lot of drop right now because there's just not that many people who are out there to buy those homes. There's not that many loans that are out there to buy these super jumbo homes, and that market is in a definite state of flux. But our other markets, that are 2 million and below, that market is remaining very brisk. There's still plenty of buyers in that space. So I'm not really concerned about seeing property values dip in that based on the data that we're seeing right now. So an interest-only loan, the overall concept here is that we're going to get back to a lower interest rate environment as the economy goes through what it's experiencing right now. That could be 12 months, 18, 24. We're going to get back to a space of a more normal economy and debt relationship, especially if it comes to interest rates. So during that,
oops, I can not to interrupt you, but that's why I have this crystal ball back here. So this is your prediction, right? So we don't know for sure. And everything Chad's saying is he's a fiduciary to his clients, and it's to help them make the best decisions. So I just want to make that.
Well, I think the concept is, we're at 14-year highs of interest rates. Historically, we have not seen rates stay this high this long. And there's a lot of factors that are involved with that. Primarily, the biggest factor is going to be inflation. And inflation will continue to subside as this administration and this economic administration has taken massive steps to curb inflation, which basically means higher prices for everyone. So as that starts to peak, you will see that back off. You will see interest rates come down. It is, crystal ball being what it is. I can also say that there's a good chance it'll probably rain again sometime by the end of this year, and I'm pretty confident in that happening as well too. But anyway, during this interest-only period of time, it's a great way for a customer to save a great deal on that mortgage while they're still getting the equity appreciation. And then the other benefit of that interest-only loan, which I really want to talk about, because a lot of people don't know this, is that when you have an interest-only loan, and let's say the payment is $1,000 a month, and you decide to make a payment of $1,500 a month, that $500 goes directly to the principal, and that next month your loan re-amortizes, and so you're actually paying less interest on that interest only loan, because the loan does revolve as you pay down that principal. So some people make the interest only payment, they don't change it at all. Some people are actively paying down that mortgage, and it's a great financial tool for people who are looking to have a little bit more flexibility within their home loan product during these turbulent times. Okay. Now, the other thing, Dave, that you and I have talked about a lot is the concept of what's called a 2-1 buy down. Okay. So the concept of a 2-1 buy down is a temporary interest rate buy down through where the homeowner gets their interest payments reduced by 2% for the first 12 months of the loan and 1% for the second 12 months of the loan. And this is a loan product that had been out there for a long time, but nobody was really interested in doing it for several reasons. One of it being rates being too low, right? Like, I mean, when rates were at 2.875, I mean, 2-1 buy down would have your interest rate at 0.875. That's kind of ridiculous. Nobody was really interested in doing that. But also, this concept is in this loan product, this is funded by the seller. Okay. And so our home markets were just so seller controlled for so long that the seller would never even consider something like this. So now what we're seeing is, you know, a little bit more normalization of market, right? So, I mean, we're seeing much higher amounts of inventory. And so sellers are losing a little bit of control just from the numbers of homes that are for sale and just the fact that there's fewer buyers right now. So we are seeing this done. We have done about 10 of these over the past 2 months. And literally what it is, if the average interest rate is 5.5 and a buyer and seller participate in this program, the buyer of the home would pay 3.5 for the first 12 months, 4.5 for the next 12 months. And the concept there is really great for the buyer because, you know, you're going to get the lower interest rate, which is terrific, save you some money there. 2% is a big savings. And on top of that, you know, it kind of puts us right back into that crystal ball projection of when we think that rates are going to really come down. So there's no prepayment penalties on these loans. There's nothing that will predict you from refinancing. But, you know, hey, ideally you get into a program like this, you know, and here we are in 12 months and now interest rates are sub 4 again, and you're just going to refinance into a longer 30-year fixed loan where the payment doesn't move at all. So really interesting product. It really takes a lot of education for the listing agent, education for the buyer's agent, because effectively the seller is the one who's paying for this reduction. Okay. And before everybody is like, oh gosh, you know, well, what, you know, the concept there is like, hey, look, Mr. Seller, your home's not moving. It's not selling. The market is telling you that this isn't working. So you can do a couple things. Maybe you reduce the price $50,000, or maybe you credit our buyer, you know, $36,000 with some capacity so that they can get a lower interest rate for the first 2 years of the loan. And when it's presented in that manner, it's a lot more interesting to a seller and to a listing agent who's sitting there on a property that 12 months ago would have sold in 2 days, and in 3 weeks they don't have any offers. So that's really what it's made for. And I think that it's the type of people that are really interested in this are savvy buyers right now. They know the markets are shifting. They know that they can get a little bit more squeeze out of these sellers than they could have in the past 2 to 3 years. And this is a great way to do it.
Awesome. You know what I found interesting is through all our masterminds, you know, that you and I are both on and part of, a lot of lenders use ARM loans. I mean, literally.
Oh, personally.
Yeah, personally.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, Dave, it's not just that. I mean, a good portion of my business comes from high net worth financial planners.
Mhm.
And these are guys who are intimately involved in the financing structure for their clients, right? Down to their life insurance, their stocks, portfolio, et cetera. And I will tell you 9 out of 10 times, those guys are pushing their clients towards interest-only ARMs because of the flexibility with them. I use ARMs on my personal loans.
Me too.
A lot of people, yeah. I mean,
it's this house on an ARM loan.
Yeah, and but it's one of those things where it's like, you know, a lot of people have these conceptions of what is a safe financial product, and sometimes you don't really want to argue with them too much because you don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. But I mean, the average person is going to keep a home loan maybe 2.5 to 3 years. And so, I personally am not comfortable with 3-year arms or 5-year arms unless someone's absolutely going to sell that property. But a 7 and a 10-year arm, I mean, I don't, I'm 3 years into a 7-year arm myself right now. I'm not losing any sleep over it. A lot's going to change in the next 4 years for myself personally. So yeah, I think they're great products. I think that there's a lot of, it's more things. They're a mortgage product is like a tool for a job, right? And so you got to have the right tool, and you got to know how it works, and you got to know how to use it. And that's kind of the process that we want to go through with someone when they're talking about buying a house, is like to look at more than one option. And I think that's kind of, what this change in market has been, because for the past 3 years, it was just like 30-year fix, 30-year fix, 30-year fix. And now, it's a little bit different now, which is, it's good to have the availability of these different products. On the lower side, I mean, we're still doing a lot of 15-year fixes. There's a huge interest rate drop off on a 15-year fixed term. And so a lot of people who are just, very, very conservative, don't want to take any chances or risks, that's a great product for a lot of people too.
You're there to help the client. Like your job is to keep an eye on their rate and give them advice moving forward, right? I mean,
Dave, my team, that's how you get to 400 some odd thousand loans is, when those rates are dropped. So we literally target whenever we can lower someone's rate more than 0.5%. I mean, it's on, and it's beneficial for us, and it's beneficial for the client. And so, we think that, so we have triggers. I have staff, that's what they do. And boy, they're all excited waiting for that to come back around, because it's definitely not been something we've been able to handle this year. So we're anxiously waiting for it. But, most of my people have worked with me for 10 years. We've come through these markets before. And it's interesting to me. And I think it's important to note that, we're just such a clickbait driven society now, that, 12 months ago it was housing prices are out of control. They're, 70 offers. And that was very interesting. And now it's just gloom and doom, and, these markets and all. And it's just, we're somewhere in the middle is the reality. Okay. Yeah. Higher interest rates are not bad for necessarily the economy. We really feel a lot of pain as with buyers, but the buyers have been sitting around looking at interest rates in the twos, and that's just not how it goes. It's never been that way. And so, just because an interest rate is not 2% does not mean that it's a bad time to purchase a home. I mean, it's everybody goes through these exercises, and I mean, with the rising rents, I mean, it is insane to live in San Diego, and quite frankly, again, if the trajectory of home prices are still moving forward. That's not changed. And that's because, we're uniquely positioned. We have another country to the south. We have the ocean to the west.
Mountains, right?
Mountains to the east. And we have, an
Pendleton border.
Camp Pendleton to the north. So I'm not really sure where else we're going to go here. So in none of those things are going to change. And so, you buy, getting in, with a higher interest rate only really means that in the future you're going to get a lower rate, but you might have positioned yourself where home ownership or the location of where you're looking for in San Diego is still a possibility, because there's just a lot of people who waited over the past 5 years, for this correction, or rates in the ones or something like that, and they're not in a position to own a home anymore in San Diego. They're renters, and that's a very real reality.
And the bottom line is, people ask me all the time, they're like, when's the right time to buy a home? It's when it makes sense for the client. Like, buy or sell a home, it does matter, where rates are, but it really matters on their goal. Like, literally, it's their goal.
There's very few people in true Southern California that have purchased a home in the past 20 years who can say that they're in a bad position. I mean, I would, I think that, some of these people who did buy in the past, 12, 18 months, they got into that cycle of very emotional, right? Like, and so they emotionally purchased, and many of them waived their appraisal contingencies and offered to pay X amount of dollars over regardless of the appraisal was. And quite frankly, I mean, that's an emotional reaction, right? So we try to make the process of buying a home a little bit more rational, and make it a little bit more reasonable. And at the end of the day, there's just in Southern California, San Diego specifically, there's a limited number of homes, and there is, with our diverse economy, the role that the military plays in our economy, the role that our universities play, the role that Qualcomm plays, the fact that this is the cradle of biotech. I mean, we are a diverse economy. I mean, we're talking, a GDP of, 250 billion a year, which is more than most countries. So we're diverse. We have a limited amount of space and limited amount of homes. The jobs that are being replaced in San Diego, these are, several $100,000 a year jobs. I mean, and so as those individuals continue to migrate into San Diego, home prices are going to continue going up. I mean, that's just it. So, and that's much different than, say, Dallas, Texas, okay, or Reno, Nevada, right? Like, when you have unlimited cheap farmland, I mean, you can continue to develop. That's not happening in San Diego. So, so a lot of infill development, a lot of of resale, but you'd be hard pressed to find a better job market, combination of job market and real estate market than San Diego, California. Right.
Yeah, and you know what I heard? I don't remember who it was from. Real estate is its own economy. It's
clearly, yeah. Well,
100%.
but in some areas, I mean, I'm from Sacramento, right? So I can speak to this. I mean, there's a huge sector of people who work in real estate and real estate finance, and so when the economy has these dips, it's very big. San Diego has, again, one of the most diverse economies that there is. There's hardly more than one sector where more than 12% of the people are actively employed. So, real estate agents and lenders are feeling some hits right now, and they're going to continue to, but that's not going to impact our economy as a whole, not even close. Yeah. So it's, we just keep, as you said, to kind of circle on, like, there's, when the right time to buy is when it's right for you and your family. And that's, and our job is to kind of, ask the questions to help you arrive at that decision, again, rationally, not emotionally. But at the end of the day, San Diego is significantly getting priced out. And so if you can get into home ownership at this time, in 12 to 24 months, and back to that crystal ball again, very good chance you're going to have a lower payment in the future.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for your time. How do they get a hold of you? Best way.
Call, text, email. I mean, we're open. So anytime anybody wants to reach out, please do.
Gotcha. And I'll put the Chad's information in the body of wherever you're seeing this on Facebook, YouTube, through a BombBomb video, or my personal database. Hey, Chad, thank you so much for your time. Makes a lot of sense. Really appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thanks, bud.
Take care.
Bye-bye.